Well, as the coalition slumped to its lowest level in news poll history following the sacking of Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, there's been a surge in support for One Nation. Newspoll has Pauline Hanson's party at 10%, and the recent Resolve poll has them at a record high of 12%. All of this has Senator Pauline Hanson daring to dream, and she joins me now. Senator Hanson, thanks for your time. You'd be pretty happy with the latest polling. Why are you suddenly doing so well?
First of all, James, thank you very much for having me on and asking me this question. James, you know, I've been in politics now for 3 decades, and I started as, you know, just this woman from a small business, and I stood my ground on many issues, and I haven't backed away from it. And I feel that over the years that people have now come to realise what I was trying to say back then, and because the country is in one hell of a mess and we don't have the politicians standing up and fighting for Australian values, where we're headed as a nation, that Australians are starting to say, and I get messages from them, they said, you know what, Pauline, I was against you previously, now I understand what you were trying to say, because they're feeling the effects of it. I'm not a career politician, I'm a person, I'm just like every other Australian out there. It's not about a job for me. I have an invested interest in it because I'm an Australian. I love my country. I feel for the future generations, and I feel for those Australians out there who are doing it tough at the moment. Cost of living, the climate change, gender diversity, family law courts, everything that is affecting our nation, mass migration, the division that's happening. This is all due to political decisions by both the Liberal, Labor and the National Party. I've never given up my hope to actually drive an agenda and policies to turn this around. People are now waking up to One Nation. What I'm trying to tell them, you know, stop being treated like mushrooms and stop saying she'll be right, mate, because it won't. And I'm giving them an alternative, and I appreciate the rise in the polls.
I want to ask you what you make of the Liberals' inability to formulate positions that I would have thought for most Conservative voters would be a given. They still, at a federal level, haven't worked out their position on energy policy. If you go to Victoria, the Liberals there can't work out whether or not to repeal the Indigenous treaty proposed by Jacinta Allen if they win government. What do you make of the Conservatives, as I said, just an inability to actually take a position on anything at the moment?
And that's exactly right, they won't, because the Liberals have been taken over by the moderates and progressives. I sit on the floor of Parliament all the time, and they're actually deserted the core values of conservatism in Australia. And that's why I'm a core Conservative. And remember, I wouldn't apologise for calling for equality for all Australians. So John Howard threw me out of the Liberal Party. And I've been, you know, standing my ground. And this is what, if you really want true representation of the Conservative values, they're actually bending over backwards to appease, you know, the Greens or the Teals or these people that are sitting on the fence, the agitators, these people. What I'm saying is, let's to the core Conservative values, family values, business, you know, looking after the small business, looking after the farming sector, looking after our prosperity, looking after, you know, what this country is giving us a good living and standard of living. But that's all gone to the wayside because they're all looking after their own positions. How can we sit on the fence? Susan Lee is the most hopeless leader I've seen. If she doesn't understand what the people want at the moment and what they need, she shouldn't be in that position. Get out of it, Susan. It goes on your gut instincts because you either are in tune with the people and understand what the hurt and pain they're going through. If not, you shouldn't be in that position.
This week's Resolve poll found 55% of Australians think the government is handling immigration in an unplanned and unmanaged way. 55% of Australians, and among Labor voters, it was 41%. Yeah. The opposition completely messed up their chance to make this a key issue, didn't they? Firstly, Jacinta Price's comments were clumsy by her own admission, but then their reaction to it, where they ran scared, having been called racists. You've been called a racist more times than I can remember, but you know what? You've stood your ground. The Liberal Party should have stood their ground on this issue, shouldn't they?
They should have backed her. Jacinta Price was right. And I've said this time and time and again. 1997, Barry Jones, who was the Labor president at the time and former minister, said we bring people in purely for the vote. That's Labor. They're putting out literature into the Chinese and Greek areas purely for its propaganda to destroy the Liberal Party. At that time, they're actually talking about they wanted to stop migration. I'm talking about not prior to 1996, and they were actually the scare campaign about Medicare. History is repeating itself, but the Libs don't know how to get their act together. Too much infighting, not working together. That's right throughout the states and everything like that. I hope people get behind One Nation, understand, go and read my policies, what I'm fighting for, what I stand for. Because I tell you what, we are the only ones, I've been the only one that's been pulling the back, whether it be the Voice. I was the first one to come out with the Voice. Mass migration, first one. I joined people shoulder to shoulder in the march and proud to do it. And, you know, COVID-19, farming sector, everything, family law courts, everything that I've predicted over the years, James, has actually come to fruition. And we have these real problems in our country. Libs are not the answer to it. I'm telling you now, too many progressives, they've taken over the party, and they're career politicians. They haven't got the heart with this country or with the people.
I was going to say, Senator Hanson, we should get you to do climate modelling, because I would trust your predictions more than the government's on climate. Very quickly, before I let you go, Anthony Albanese seemed to get a bit cranky today when he was questioned over the decision to abandon his Sydney electorate office. Here's what happened.
You abandoning your office, is it setting a dangerous precedent?
What absolute nonsense, seriously. This is an office that is actually shared with St Clement's Church. The car park is a shared car park. The people trying to attend church services have been disrupted, as well as people haven't been able to get the services that they need.
Just quickly, Senator Hanson, this decision to abandon his office after the protesters, has he sent the wrong message?
Of course he has. He's so weak and pathetic, and he's using the church as an excuse. He should have actually got the federal police in there, all the New South Wales State Police, to deal with the protesters. He hasn't, because you know what? He doesn't want to upset them, because they'll be voters of him. They don't give a damn about him or about the constituents or people sorting out their problems, and that's why we're in a hell of a bloody mess, because the leaders we have in this nation.
Well, Senator Hanson, you're doing very well in the polls. Good luck to you. I appreciate you joining me tonight.